There is supposed to be a ceasefire in the Lebanon, but it means nothing. There have been 28 ceasefires, and each of them has been followed by even fiercer fighting. It's now a year since Lebanon's social tensions finally and inevitably exploded into war. Until last year, this corner of Beirut was crammed with clubs, bars and brothels. Now the music stopped and the girls have fled. Instead, the streets shudder under shell fire and snipers pick off the unwary with a single bullet. So far, the civil war has taken 17,000 lives. In the latest ceasefire, at least 50 and sometimes 100 people have died each day. The hotels which made Beirut the tourist center of the Middle East are now strategic forts, won in street by street, floor by floor battle. No one will ever know how many heroes died here in the Holiday Inn. The battle lasted 3 days and 3 nights, and there were no prisoners at the end. The blood of many wasted young lives has stained the gaudy opulence of Beirut's biggest hotel forever. But the civil war is not merely genocide in the name of competing gods. This wasteland is called Garantina. It was a shanty town in which 13,000 poor Muslims lived in squalor, surrounded by Christians who despised them, not for being Muslim, but because they were poor. 3 months ago, the Christian militia invaded the slum. It was a massacre. One of those who led the invasion was Danny Shamoun. Was it not a ruthless operation?
No, it wasn't ruthless. They were just asked to give up their arms and go out of here peacefully. They didn't. A very concise military action was taken, and they were given free access and transportation out of here. What made it seem ruthless? Because we cleared the shanties out of here. This is private property, and it can be used now for development. We're desperately short of land, and I'm sure the people will use it for proper development.
On a beach in the Muslim part of the city, the victims of that concise military operation are now refugees. Here, these slum children now enjoy a freedom forced on them by a massacre in which many of their fathers were slaughtered. Those who owned the Sunday afternoon chalets in which the refugees now live belonged to that society which created the slums, which ignored their poverty. Khadija Jabir is 12 years old. She was captured by Christian militiamen in Garantina and paraded in a bus through the Christian streets around her slum for the people to jeer at. Then they were ordered out of the bus.
When we got out of the buses, the Phalangists started to argue among themselves. Some wanted to kill us, but others did not. Then some of them began to attack us with large canes, and they said to us things like, "You killed my brother, I must take revenge." But others tried to keep them away from us. Then we were led away, and the people on the balconies started spitting at us. Others nearby began pulling our hair. Half of the men that were with us were taken away, but those who were left behind were made to stand up against a wall with their hands above their heads, and then the Phalangists sprayed them with bullets.
The sack of Garantina was soon avenged. The Christian town of Damour had a population of 30,000. It was pretty and prosperous. Now it's deserted and pillaged. In Damour, as in Garantina, religion was almost irrelevant. Near here, Muslims and Christians still live in harmony. But Damour was a stronghold of the right, and in part, this war is between the right and the left, of the rich against the poor. In the basement of the Arab University of Beirut, there's a field hospital. Here, the victims of war have their broken bodies patched up. So far in 1 year, more than 25,000 people have been wounded. These men have been fighting for the left against the right. Most of them, it is true, worship Allah, but some of them believe in Jesus Christ. Their war is not about God, but class. For the doctor who spends his days mending mangled bodies, the war is a terrible waste of human life. What happened to him?
He has got a bullet injury in his abdomen, as you can see. Most of his intestines has been cut also, in addition to his liver has been ruptured. So we sutured the edges of the liver in addition to his intestines. We did to him what's called laparotomy, exploration of the abdomen. It was a big bleeding inside, and now he's about 15 days in our hospitals. Now he seems to be so quiet and well. كيفك؟ منيح؟ بدك شيء؟
The commercial instinct of the Lebanon, which helped fuel the fire of this war, is not yet extinguished. These traders used to own elegant shops in the center of the city, which is now rubble. Now they do their business in the street. Their Lebanon, the Lebanon of commerce and trade, of an economic free-for-all, where nearly anything and almost anyone could be bought, where the rich made much money and paid little tax, that Lebanon is dead. In its place there is anarchy. Rubbish piles the streets. Civil order has collapsed. Shops, offices and banks are looted or closed. There is no law, no police force, no army, no government. The elegant flats in which lived those who made the old Lebanon are empty. Their owners have fled. Those who grew rich in the Lebanon seemed unable to conceive that their world would collapse. But now it's controlled by those they had always ignored. The center of the city is a racetrack for the dispossessed. Kamil Shamoun, a president of the old Lebanon, now leads the struggle of the right to preserve the past. He would die to restore the old order.
We are a country of free enterprise, and Lebanon has been built and has become and has become the country you might see in visiting all the mountains and become prosperous thanks to private initiative. This is a system which we're not going to change. Why? Well, there is room for everybody. Everybody who wants to work really can work, can make money, can have a decent living. After all, generally speaking, we have a standard of living much higher than any country in the Middle East. Unfortunately, there were two kinds of people in Lebanon. People who wanted to work and make money, and people who wanted to make money without working.
In the eyes of Kamil Shamoun, it's the Muslims who won't work. It's true that most of them are poor, their wages are low, their families are large, but they are the majority. The democracy of the old Lebanon, much praised in the Western world, which relished the economic liberties it permitted, denied them a voice.